how do I handle imposter syndrome as I step into an executive role? And this is a classic question. Everybody sort of gets some sort of imposter syndrome at some point. And how do you deal with this? And there are a couple different ways to do it. And there's not one magic answer. You have to figure out what works for you. So the first thing I always say is you shouldn't be 100% ready, right? So if you are 100% ready for an executive role, you kind of waited too long. I mean, it's great. I mean, now that you're there and you're 100% ready, but you should probably be about 80% ready because you need the challenge, you need the growth. So you're not supposed to be 100% on day one. So if you're not, you're perfectly where you're supposed to be. Now, you should be kind of 80% of the way there. You shouldn't be completely out of your depth, but you should not be perfect. And really, the question is, how fast do you adopt to the new role? And if you get a new executive role, my recommendation is think of it as a 30-day, 60-day, or 90-day sprint, right? What do you need to do? What do you need to learn so that you can be operating in a way that people see as an executive, right? You have this window where you are a new executive and people expect you not to quite be there, right? If you're not quite there 6 months in, then they're going to start to question about, well, are you ever going to be ready? Right. And so I would think about it as, again, a 30, 60, 90-day plan to make sure that you are adopting the behaviors, you are learning what you need to learn. And that's a lot of what we have here in terms of the relationships, the results, and your executive presence. Those are kind of the core things that you would focus on to be successful in the role. But again, imposter syndrome is totally normal. The question is, are you comfortable being a little out of your depth? Because you should be. So that's step number one, is make sure that that's the expectation. You're out of your depth. You stay out of your depth. That's where you're supposed to be. So you're okay with that. And two, do you have a plan? Right? Do you have a plan to identify any gaps you may have, to study the behaviors of other people, to make sure that you are adopting the executive behaviors that you're supposed to be doing? So those are my two main sort of recommendations. Is one is a mental frame. Make sure you expect this because it will happen. Right? Imposter syndrome is a sign that you're growing. It is a positive indicator, not a negative indicator. And two, have a plan.